Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of It Goes Off. I'm Andrew Gaze, this is Grantley Bernard, and we've just finished round 22 of the Ironnet NBL. And Grantley, we are none the wiser of who is actually going to make the playoffs, but we can say this, after 22 rounds of the Ironnet NBL competition, the New Zealand Breakers have locked away first position and the Perth Wildcats will finish second.
Third year in a row for the Breakers to finish top of the ladder. And that's probably a pretty good omen to go on and win a championship, isn't it? They've, got home court advantage, which I think if you've got to travel to New Zealand these days, is pretty significant.
And over the last 6 or 7 games, they've really cranked it up on the offensive end, averaging around the 90 points a game. So they're playing some great basketball. But Grantley, talk us through where all the winners and losers were on the weekend.
Well, funnily enough, the winners did start in New Zealand. The Breakers 80 over the Taipans 77. Cedric Jackson, 17 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 6 steals, and the go-ahead basket. Just a quiet night for Cedric. The Breakers had a 17-10 fourth quarter. They were only 2 of 13 on 3-point field goals, but obviously did enough to get the job done. Cam Glidden continued his good form for the Taipans with 15 points. Jamar Flip-Wilson also had 15, but the Taipans' 19 turnovers gave the Breakers 15 points. The Perth Wildcats 83 smashed the Sydney Kings 56. Sean Redditch with 23 points on 8 of 12 shooting for the Wildcats. The Wildcats were 28 of 34 on free throws. They had a 20-6 second quarter to blow that one open. Darnell Lazar had 16 points, 9 rebounds for the Kings, who were just 1 of 15 from outside the arc. The Adelaide 36-69 lost to the Cairns Taipans 70. Daniel Johnson, 21 points, 13 rebounds for Adelaide. Shane Edwards had 13 points for the Snakes, as did Jamar Flip-Wilson, who also had the game-winning free throw. The Townsville Crocodiles 69 defeated the Wollongong Hawks 64. Gary Irvin, 24 points for the Crocs. The Crocs were only 3 of 22 on 3-point field goals. But they were 14 of 15 on free throws, which is important. They had 38 to 22 points in the paint and a 21-11 third quarter set up the win. Adrissa De Leon for the Hawks had 12 points and 7 rebounds. The Melbourne Tigers 74 lost to the New Zealand Breakers 79. Chris Golding had 23 points for the Tigers, and former Tiger Daryl Corletto had 20 points with 4 of 6 three-pointers. The Breakers had a 32-12 second quarter and they accumulated 26 points off the Tigers' turnovers.
Yeah, spectacular display by the New Zealand Breakers. They've been good all season, but really starting to crank it up towards the latter stages, which very good signs for them as we're heading towards the playoffs. So let's take a look at the very important NBL ladder. And at the top of the table there, you see it, lock it away, New Zealand and Perth. Then we've got Wollongong and Sydney are currently in the top 4. Melbourne are hanging around, but very much limping, literally, as far as their wins and losses, and also with Johnny Flynn and Seth Scott still not 100%. Cairns Taipans and Townsville Crocs, mathematically, still have a chance. Can you believe that? And then last, Adelaide 36ers, they're
definitely done.
They are definitely done.
Yep.
But Grantley, when you look at this NBL table, it is an extraordinary one. And again, we've been asking this question week in, week out. Can we rule out the Cairns Taipans and the Townsville Crocs, who are currently in 6th and 7th place? Realistically, I know mathematically.
I hate to admit it, but I think the Crocs are done.
That's really what I was getting to, because you've been on the Crocs for a long, long period of time. You're prepared now.
I was very faithful to the Crocs, and look, who knows? But I think realistically, the Crocs are done. Unfortunately, they're done.
Right.
But the Taipans, the Cairns Taipans. They could be. They might just sneak in.
And you raise a very good question, Grantley. So because if we take a look at the run home, which we have in the last couple of weeks, have a look at the Cairns Taipans. They've got Adelaide away, tough but winnable. Perth away,
automatic win.
That is the one they're going to have to pinch if they're going to get there. and then they got the Melbourne Tigers at home. So they're going to have to earn the right. But when you consider they're just coming off only on the road, lose by 3 to the New Zealand Breakers, Perth now no longer playing for anything other than preparing for the final series. So you're right with the Cairns Taipans. The Melbourne Tigers are the one that I had locked in, but I'm prepared now, as you've done with the Townsville Crocs. I'm unlocking them. I am unlocking the Melbourne Tigers
Are you shutting them out?
I'm not shutting them out.
There's one thing to unlock, but you're not. No,
I'm not shutting them out.
Okay.
I'm unlocking them because of their current form.
So really, you're not doing anything, are you?
Not really.
No.
But I had locked them in.
No, you're not doing anything.
But I had locked them in previously, so I've unlocked them because of New Zealand away, Townsville away, Cairns away, then Townsville at home. Really, the only one I'd feel confident about is that home game against Townsville. So they are going to have to earn it. And again, it gets back to the Wollongong Hawks and the Sydney Kings. So there you have it. The thing about the Wollongong Hawks is that they actually taking on the Sydney Kings. The advantage Wollongong have had, and I've been speaking about the last couple of weeks, is that they are these games that the Wollongong Hawks have got are both at home. Sydney at home, Adelaide at home, very winnable. They should end up with 13 wins. Well, Grantley, we'd like to knock around some of the issues going on in the NBL in a little segment we call Tick It Off. And I want to start off, and very much along this vein. We talk about parity in the NBL and how we all, for years, were saying how even the competition. The numbers would suggest that that's a load of rubbish because New Zealand and Perth are so far ahead of the rest of the field that there is a big, big difference between the others. Is this a reflection on the overall standard of the competition, or are New Zealand and Perth just that much better? Please explain.
Well, I think Perth and New Zealand, I mean, it stands to reason that over the course of a season they are that much better.
Right.
But I think on any given night, just about any team in the league can compete.
Well, not according to the rubbish. That's rubbish. According to the stats. That's rubbish.
No, hang on.
Right.
Over the course of the season, that is what the stats reflect.
They've only lost 3
The
games.
wins and losses, right?
Only lost 3.
But let's say, for instance, this is hypothetical now.
Yeah.
The New Zealand Breakers could go 26-0. Okay? And they would seem to be a dominant team. But they might have won those 26 games by 1 point every night.
Highly unlikely, but yes.
So that doesn't mean that the other team's that far below them.
No, it doesn't.
And what I'm saying here is, yes, Perth and New Zealand, on the strength of their season record,
there's a chasm.
Are dominant.
There's a chasm.
But on any given night, most teams will compete and can beat them. And that's what you've got to take into account.
Perhaps.
And yes, there's been some blowout games along the way.
Perhaps.
But everyone gets that.
3 losses, 6 losses, and then the next best so far, could be worse, is actually at 15 losses. It's hard to ignore the numbers, Grantley. And,
well, what's your theory?
Well, I just think that the New Zealand Breakers and the Perth Wildcats are so far ahead of the rest of the field. They are, now you're right, in a playoff series, as we've been saying all along, an aberration can happen. They could possibly slip up. Highly unlikely, but that could happen. But, when all the efforts are being done with salary caps and point systems and all those things we try to put in place to create the parity, the numbers would suggest that hasn't worked because we've got 2 absolutely clearly dominant teams and a chasm between the rest of the field.
Well, but if you look at that, the rest of the league is very even. So maybe the top 2 teams are an aberration.
That's exactly what I said.
Did you?
That's exactly.
I don't think you said that.
Almost verbatim.
But you know what?
You paraphrase what I said.
You say, all right, that we don't think anyone can beat New Zealand and Perth.
Well, when we
get to the playoffs, just watch out for Cairns.
All right. That's true, actually.
Just watch out for
you know
Cairns.
why? Because strategically they're very well coached and they play a game that can bring other teams down to their level.
Just watch out for the Taipans.
I hear.
You're not giving them any love, are you? Just watch out for them.
No, I actually think if they did get in there, they would be one of the best equipped. Although they're undersized and although they've had some ups and downs, just the style of play and the way that they can bring other teams down to their level, they would, I think, have a chance. We saw that against the New Zealand.
You're damning them with faint praise.
No, I'm not. I'm saying
bringing them down to their level. You're saying?
No, I'm not. I'm saying there's yeah, that's right, because there is a chasm between the talent. So what I'm saying is that they at least strategically can play a game style which at the very least will give them a chance. Anyway,
Joe Blake's going to be looking for you next time you go to Cairns.
mate, he's going to be looking for you. He's going to be happy with me because I'm giving him a chance.
I've got him in the playoffs. What more can I do?
Yeah, good point. Hey, Grantley, lastly, when we talk about the run home, injuries can play a factor. On Sunday, we saw the Melbourne Tigers. Seth Scott clearly not 100% with that back injury. Johnny Flynn, it's been revealed plantar fascia injury. Now, he's partially torn it. To me, that says that he's not coming back the next 2 weeks.
He's got to be done.
Maybe if the Tigers get to the playoffs, but that is another blow which almost rules out the Tigers.
Yep.
Well, there you have it. You've made your point, Grantley, and fair enough. But now we've had our say, and as we do each and every week, we love to get the feedback. We want you to join in the conversation, and the best way to do that is hit us with a question on the NBL Facebook page, or you can also contact Grantley and I via the Twitter, Andrew Gaze 10 or Grantley Bernard, or even the NBL Twitter page.
At NBL.
At NBL. It's as simple as that. And this is a little segment we call the Mark Zuckerberg Minute. Well done, Grantley. Good to see you're in the spirit of things. And we're going to start it off with this week, and this is a very good one because it has a crack at me, and it's deserved this week. It's Nat, where you at? Now, I don't know whether Nat is Nathan or Natalie. Nat could be anything. Male, female, we don't know. But Nat, where you at? Asks. After the comments about a high, and I said this during the commentary when I was up there covering a Cairns game, and I said, after the comments about a higher chance Rodman would start talks between North Korea and America than the Taipans making the playoffs, if the Snakes do make the playoffs, what will he use to take that foot out of his mouth? Good question, Nat. It was true. At the time, Nat, I did say that because Dennis Rodman, you might have seen this in the reports, he went to North Korea just to try and a goodwill gesture, facilitate some talks with Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name is. Yeah. Very dictatorial, a nasty piece of work.
Good like yourself.
And clearly, given the nuclear testing going on in North Korea, I did not think that there was any chance Dennis Rodman would have an impact, and he hasn't. So there is the prospect that I could be 100% incorrect here. But at the time, Nat, where you're at, it was not unreasonable to suggest. Even I think amongst the coaches, the conversation I had with the Cairns Taipans, I mean, you would have to have been a genius to figure it out. And the bottom line is they're going to go into the playoffs, if they do make it, with a losing record. So you are correct, though, and I could have got that one horribly wrong. Grantley.
I think you have.
I know you have. You're as strong on the Taipans as you were with the Crocs.
Yep, I'm on.
That's not necessarily a good thing.
No, it's not. It's not. There's not too many teams can carry my weight, unfortunately.
No, but you're right. The Cairns Taipans, I still think they're a roughie. I'm not as strong as Grantley, but yep, you do. And as I said before, if they do get there, they've got a chance. Next up, we've got David Smout. Smouty wants to know, why do the Breakers always give the Wildcats so much trouble? They seem like the one team the Cats can't beat. Now, Grantley, Wildcats, Breakers. Everyone's expecting this is going to be a repeat of last year's Grand Final series. They've still got one game to go, and it depends on that result. They could actually end the season split with their results. So they may not have that dominant, as dominant of a win-loss record against the Perth Wildcats, that is New Zealand, as it may look. But I just think that the difference between the Wildcats and the New Zealand Breakers is very small. But I think right now, the New Zealand Breakers do a better job of handling the full court press, the pressure defence of the Perth Wildcats. And in recent times in particular, they're a little bit more efficient on offence. The biggest problem the Perth Wildcats have had this season, as great as they have been, is that their field goal percentages from the three-point line and in overall haven't been great. And that's really the small difference between the two.
Yeah, that's probably a fair call. And I think especially once you get to the playoffs, you've got to have plan A, B and C. If you can't go inside, you've got to be able to go outside.
Yep.
Because if they shut down on the inside and your outside game's not on, big trouble. So that could be a factor. And I think, you do look at the Breakers and a guy like Corletto, who can get on a hot streak. I mean, and CJ Bruton.
Hasn't been great of late, but you never know.
But if he gets a couple,
dangerous,
and he gets the feel for it, you could be in a bit of trouble. And maybe Perth just doesn't have that, I guess, consistency and depth of shooting, like you say, and that's where their outside game, maybe just tails.
And I also think that the New Zealand Breakers have got a bit more size. Alex Pledger, you got that 7-footer that can guard the rim. The Perth Wildcats had that last year, kind of, with Luke Neville. You don't forget the New Zealand Breakers, Will Hudson. We haven't spoken about him. We know he got injured, wasn't playing on the weekend either. So, just that size factor that the New Zealand Breakers have could be a factor as well. So, Grantley, each and every week, in order to incentivise the good folk out there to get amongst it and send us through some questions on the Facebook and the Twitter, we give away a cracking prize. And, Grantley, what is it this week?
NBL TV.
NBL TV, a subscription for the playoffs, the rest of the season. There's only a couple of weeks to playoffs, but you also get all the international series. You get a subscription where you can go back and watch all the games that have been played this season, every single one of them, and you can see all the Australian Boomers games and all the international games as well.
Nice.
So
and in colour. It's all in colour.
Live and in colour. What I do at home, and you might want to get a pen and paper and just jot this down. Get the computer, laptop, HDMI cable, straight into the telly, bang. She's up there on the big screen. It's beautiful.
Yeah, I didn't think the Pi 26-inch came with the HDMI.
Converters, mate, converters.
Okay.
Now, Grantley, who's going to pick up the NBL TV package?
As much as I love Nat Where You At.
She makes a very good point.
As much as I love that, I think we're going to go with Schmouty.
Schmouty! David Schmout, happy days. You can now check out all the goings on in the NBL and the international games on the internet. Best way to retrieve this prize is just send us a little note on the NBL Facebook page with your details. We'll email back you the subscription, put in your username and password, bang. TV heaven. Well done. Grantley, this week, we're getting to a point where it is unpredictable what's going on. Round 23 is coming up. Tell the good folk out there where they need to go to see some great action this weekend.
Well, the great action starts pretty much as always in New Zealand.
Thursday night?
The Breakers against the Melbourne Tigers on Thursday night. Big game for the Tigers. On Friday, it's the Wollongong Hawks against the Sydney Kings. That one is playoff implications all round, and you can also see that one on 1 at 9:30. The Cairns Taipans against the Adelaide 36ers. The Cairns Taipans making another step towards the playoffs. On Sunday, the Townsville Crocodiles against the Melbourne Tigers, and the Perth Wildcats against the playoff-bound Cairns Taipans way out west.
Some very, very important games as far as the prospects of each of the teams, and also could be important games as far as MVP voting and some of the awards are going on. And on the 24th of March at the Crown Casino, it is the Basketball Night of Nights. It's in Melbourne, Crown Casino, the beautiful Palladium Room. This is a room that hosts all the big events, and it's going to be the home of the Basketball Awards. And you'll be there, Grantley. I'll be there. All basketball personalities are going to be there. It's the MVP for the WNBL, NBL, the All-Star Fives, and International Players of the Year. All that will be given out.
Best defensive player.
Surely we're not honouring defenders, are we? Surely not. Are we doing that? Unbelievable. And I tell you, if you get along there, I've just seen some vision of you just presenting the round-by-round highlights.
It's going to need a lot of work.
That is some...
it's going to need a lot of work.
Some real untidy stuff that hopefully the good editor can polish up.
I think they have to put the soft focus on.
Right.
Yeah.
No, not required there. Grantley, each and every week we need to say thanks to those that support this great game and this program. And it all starts with the naming rights sponsor.
IINet.
Connect better.
10.
And 1.
Sporting.
And FA.
And Virgin Australia.
They all do terrific work, and get out there and support them. You've been fantastic today, Grantley, just providing the insights that we come to know and love from you, and we do appreciate your good work. It is almost playoff time, and your team, most of you out there, your team still has a chance. Apologies to the Adelaide 36ers, they're the only ones, no chance. But everyone else has a chance. Some slim, some not so slim, but they need your support. So get out there, go along to the game, or check it out on NBL TV. We look forward to your company again next week for another enthralling edition of the #1 podcast in the universe for the INET NBL. And it's called It Goes Off. Yeah.